The U.S. puts more people behind bars than any other country. More than 10% of those in American prisons face life sentences. Some call life the new death sentence, where in some cases, golf club thieves get the same punishment as armed bank robbers. Much of this is due to laws made popular in the 90s.
And those who commit repeated violent crimes should be told, when you commit a third violent crime, you will be put away and put away for good. 3 strikes and you are out.
The murders of 2 young girls by criminals with long rap sheets led to this 3 strikes movement. Dozens of states and the federal government rushed laws on the books that trigger an automatic life sentence on a 3rd felony conviction. The laws were designed to keep violent repeat offenders off the streets, but in many cases, a person can get locked up for life for committing a non-violent, even laughable crime. For instance, in California, there are people in prison on their 3rd strike for stealing a pair of socks, taking change from a parked car, shoplifting a pair of work gloves, and even stealing a chocolate chip cookie from a restaurant.
3 strikes laws don't work.
Mark Marr has studied sentencing policies and the criminal justice system for 30 years. He says 3 strikes laws have succeeded in locking up thousands without any substantial drop in the crime rate.
Yeah, the problem with these laws is that it's a one-size-fits-all policy, and the reason we have judges is to determine individual circumstances. No 2 crimes, no 2 offenders are exactly alike.
And judges find their hands tied under 3 strikes laws. They have no freedom to consider the circumstances of the crime or the defendant. In the case of Rayvel Finch, a 22-year-old sentenced to life for heroin possession under Louisiana's 3 strikes law, the judge called the sentence clearly excessive and designed to cause needless suffering. According to the Sentencing Project, more than 10,000 people serving life have been convicted of a nonviolent crime. However, even when parole is an option, criminologist Fran Buntman says there's a hesitation.
I think it's the fear that there will be the unlucky politician who supports a policy and the person who gets out of prison or doesn't go into prison because of that policy lands up murdering somebody.
So many politicians want to be tough on crime.
Yes, though I think we are starting to see a shift on that. What we need in our sentencing policy is far more sophisticated, fine-tuned approaches that emphasize empirical evidence, that emphasize our better values in terms of we'd rather invest in schools than prisons.
Public support is building for reforming the way criminals are sentenced. It's also uniting some unlikely allies in Washington. Liberal Senators Patrick Leahy and Dick Durbin are teaming up with conservative Senators Rand Paul and Mike Lee to sponsor a bill that would do away with mandatory federal sentences for nonviolent offenders.
What is it costing taxpayers to put all of these people away for life?
Conservatively speaking, it costs about $25,000 a year to keep someone in prison. When people become older, 50 or so, it can be 3 times that much.
That's $60,000 to $70,000 a year for elderly prisoners who likely pose no threat to society.
If there's one thing we know in criminology, it's that people do tend to age out of crime.
Crime rates go down drastically as people mature into their 30s and 40s, which is why Marr argues holding people for life, in many cases, is a bad public investment.
1 in 9 people in prison are serving a life sentence. That is staggering. Is this a moral issue?
I think so.
And Dr. Buntman credits Christians for bringing questions of morality to the debate over sentencing.
Committing crime is not moral, but neither is over-punishing moral. And we have to find the right balance between the morality of punishment and the immorality of over-punishment.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.